Hi everyone and welcome back to the Lincoln Journal-Star's Prep Extra football preview video. Alec, McChensey, Ron Powell. It's been a long season. It's finally here, state championship football. We start on Friday night with the six-man championship.
Yeah, we got Wilcox-Hildreth, number 2. They beat number 1 Harvard in the semifinals, and they will play Hay Springs, who beat Minutair for the second time this season in the other semifinal.
Absolutely.
So should be a good matchup. The NSA used to sanction six-man football a few years back. Then they kind of let it go, and now they're sanctioning it again. So.
And that one's not at Memorial Stadium. That one's
it's out in Kearney. It's at Cope Stadium at Nebraska Kearney.
So then,
campus.
So then that's Friday. No other games on Friday, and then suddenly Monday and Tuesday become really interesting for us because 10:15 starts, 7:15 finish. Let's start on Monday. You have the Class D2 Championship, 10:15 Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, you've got Johnson Brock, number 1, undefeated. Went up and beat Humphrey St. Francis, throwing the football with Cole Fossenbarger and his receivers. You know, Caden Glenn, the sophomore, had a great game in that semifinal at Humphrey St. Francis. Ty Hahn is just he'd be a great receiver in any class. Right. Those two are really tough for teams to kind of corral. And then, of course, Dylan Rowe, he's a good running back, and he's a very good receiver out of the backfield as well. So
it's interesting because you wrote in your story, you know, the weather, all this stuff, you thought they might go for the run. They couldn't, and so they just put it in Cole's hands, and Fossenbarger threw for a lot of yards on Monday night.
Right, and, you know, they're going to be facing another team in Mullen in the finals that's very physical. Lane Ettis, running back, you know, he's tough to stop. Humphrey St. Francis was able to kind of move the ball on him on the ground and control it, and I'm sure that's what Mullen's going to want to do, is trying to have long possessions, keep the ball out of Johnson Brock's offense hands.
So that game's at 10:15, then we jump to 2:45 at the Class D1 championship, and you've got Creighton, who continues to put up points.
Yeah, you know, you got the Zimmers, Bryce and Braden, they've both over 1,000 yards rushing the ball. They've been pretty dominant all season, and they handled EMF pretty easily. They're experienced in this kind of atmosphere, but so is Burwell. Burwell is a past champion, undefeated. Should be a great game.
Absolutely. So then you have the nightcap, the primetime show, if you will, 7:15 Memorial Stadium Class A State Championship.
Omaha, Burke, and Grand Island. Omaha Burke's been on top all year. You know, Nick Henrich hasn't played the last few weeks, the Nebraska recruit, the linebacker. You know, I think it'll probably be another game time decision, and we'll see later in the week if he's practicing and what he's doing. But boy, you know, Burke is just so loaded with Division I talent.
Right.
You know, Chris Hickman is another Nebraska recruit, defensive end, tight end. You know, just a great athlete. Xavier Watts on the outside, a junior wide receiver. You know, he's getting Nebraska. He's got a Nebraska scholarship offer as well. James Burks in the backfield, you know, well over 1,000 yards this year as a rusher, you know, and then Tyler Chadwick, the quarterback. He got a Division I offer just earlier this week from Drake.
Right.
So, and he kind of makes the whole thing run. He's a 3-year starter quarterback, so he knows how to keep those guys focused and in line in the huddle, and you know, he's a leader.
And with all that star power, it just doesn't seem like a team that is going to shy away from the limelight, from the big stage at Memorial Stadium. No,
and you know, they're pretty determined. You know, last year they lost a heartbreaker in the semifinals of the playoffs. You know, and they want to finish this thing, a very, very talented senior class. But they're going to be facing a team in Grand Island that looked like, you know, early in the season, the first 6 weeks, they were as good as anybody.
Right.
And they are back to that level now. You know, that Cole Evans is back healthy, and, you know, when he's healthy, I think, you know, everything goes well offensively.
Right. So then, that's all Monday. You move on Tuesday, no break again, 10:15 start, 7:15 finish. You start, and that C2 championship game on Tuesday.
This is the game everybody's been looking forward to the entire season. Norfolk Catholic Centennial. Centennial was the runner-up in C2 last year. Young team, a lot of juniors last year, now they're seniors. They've been undefeated 3 straight years in the regular season. Then they're going up against a Norfolk Catholic team that rolled through C1 last year, 13-0, had almost everybody back, got shocked in the opener by Pierce.
That's right.
But they've been rolling ever since. You know, Dylan Kotz, you know, he's the fastest high school athlete in Nebraska, running back, over 2,600 yards. Ethan Piper, Nebraska recruit, defensive tackle. And they've got others. You know, they got Joe Teton, he's a returning All-Stater in the line. Evan Smith's a returning All-Stater. So they've got 4 returning All-Staters from last year. And what they did against Sutton was pretty impressive.
Absolutely. Then you jump, you got Class C1. Really no break there. State championship game at 2:45.
Yeah, you know, Aurora, you know, they started number 1.
Right.
Then they moved to number 2 when Pierce beat Norfolk Catholic. But Aurora looks like, you know, they're the prohibitive favorite right now. They've looked like the number 1 team in the state all season.
Yeah.
You know, Wahoo actually was able to challenge them a little bit. First half, they led at halftime, but then Aurora came out in the second half, hit some big plays. You know, Baylor Shireman, you know, he's as good a quarterback as anybody around, and he's got an array of receivers. The thing that impressed me about Shireman against Wahoo got some pressure in on him. He was able to elude it and look downfield, find open receivers, and, you know, execute the play.
He's a big-time player, no doubt about that. So several more big-time players in Tuesday night's nightcap in the primetime game, Class B state championship.
Well, everybody's going to get a look at Garrett Nelson from Scotts Bluff, Nebraska recruit, very disruptive player at defensive end. They kind of move him around offensively, mostly to block and that sort of thing. Very physical player. People are going to enjoy watching him. Obviously, Scotts Bluff also has Chris Busby at running back, you know, well over 1,000 yards this season. And, you know, they've kind of survived here. You know, they were way down to Omaha Roncalli and then had that huge second half in the quarterfinal. They're down 9 in the second half to York. Came back and won that game. So, and then, of course, Omaha's got huge offensive front. Jared Epperson, you know, over 2,000 yards rushing this year. There's not much secret about what Scott's going to do. They're going to line up and they're going to run straight at him. And Scott's defense has really started coming on here in the second half of the season as well.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a jam-packed 2 days there. Any final thoughts as we enter state championship, I guess you call it weekend or week?
Well, I hope folks, if they're in Lincoln, will come out and watch the games, you know.